What's going on, everybody, man? Y'all know what it is. I'm your host, Pitt Sports Zone, coming to you live yet again, another episode of Through the Eye of the Tiger. And, of course, we got Tiger himself, Robert Morris University's head coach, Bernard Clark Jr. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Practice went pretty good yesterday and today, so feeling good. Feeling good.
Coach, congratulations, man, on that W against St. Francis, 24-14. You can real quick, just take us through. I like to, follow up first from, last week's game a little bit. And if you can kind of take us through some of the things that transpired, what were some of the key takeaways from last week's game?
Well, the biggest thing is we started fast. We went out early. One of those situations, defense went out there, did a good job at first, stopped them, slowed them down. Offense went out there. We didn't get points, but the second time they scored on us first. And then the good thing about the game, when you talk about highlight, we came from behind. Went down and kicked the field goal. They went down and scored 7-3. So that was a good thing. We didn't quit. We started fast, played physical, and we finished. So that was the thing that was positive about what went on. But it was back and forth. Like I said before when we were talking last week, even though they were 0-6, we're talking about a team that fought, and that's what that team did a good job of. They stayed in it, they fought in it. The key moment, in my opinion, the key moment was right before the half. We couldn't punch it in 2 minutes. We punted the ball to them. Punter did an unbelievable job. Jason did a great job, but they weren't coming to get the punt. So he set it up. He waited for our punt team to get down there. Then he kicked it at the perfect time. He kicked it over end, which is a harder ball to catch than that spiral.
Yeah.
And the punt return guy, he fumbled it. Our snapper was right there to jump on top of it. We ended up capitalizing right before the half, ended up scoring a touchdown. So that was huge for us going up because we got the ball back the second half. So it was huge for us to do that and get ourselves in position to go ahead at halftime. Big play that happened. So.
And for those who were wondering, when Coach say end over end, that means the ball is spinning like this.
My bad.
No. I was just clarifying that for those who may not know. Not to say that they're incompetent of it, but a lot of people don't know the football terminology, as it common, and why that catch is so difficult is because when a ball is spinning like that, that's one of them. That, in my opinion, that's when there's that type of kick. That's when you see a lot of fumbles on special teams, because a lot of times, even though it's taught not to, a lot of punt returners like to try to trap it instead of catching it. Therefore, sometimes when it's end over end, it might hit a shoulder pad. And most of the time, the tip hits either this one side of the shoulder pad or the bottom or the face mask, which causes it to be a turnover.
And that's exactly what happened. It turned over and it hit a shoulder pad and it bounced out. And when it bounced out, it went to the ground. We got on top of it. And the thing about it, most punts, if people pay attention to punts, most punts are spirals. They go like this. They don't flip end over end. So Jason did a good job of having that thing flip end over end and make it a more difficult catch. Kickoffs are end over end, but you got a longer time to catch that ball.
Yeah.
So you're not as worried about it when you're in a punt situation. That ball's turning end over end. You got people right in your face, 2 yards away from you, and you got to catch it and make sure you catch it on time. So that's why it was a more of a difficult catch. And Jason did a great job, and Zach did a great job of jumping on top of that thing and did a great job of covering up. And we punched it in the end zone, which was extremely important. Now, the craziest thing is we kept shooting ourselves in the foot. You and I talked about this before. We had 27 missed assignments on offense. And one of them was on that, we get ready to score. We score a touchdown, find out one wide receiver covered the other receiver up. We got a penalty. So the touchdown
men on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and both of them go out for a pass. So the ball has to be called back. So we got to try to score again before the half. Luckily, we got it to our tight end, Richard Ransom, and he scored a touchdown before the half. But those are the things that we can't have. You know what I'm saying? It's a situation that we can't have.
Absolutely. And shout out to my man, Billy Blocks. He's the usual, always on here with us, always showing love. Again, appreciate you for joining us, man. Also, Coach, when you talk about, going into end zone and you talk about turnovers, you guys were able to, rush for 158 yards. Zach threw 2 touchdowns. But I think one of the key stats that jumped out to me most was the fact that you guys were 3 from 4 in the red zone.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said, too, what we talk about every week. Play complementary football. It was a situation when the defense stopped them. Now we're able to punch it in. When we had that fumble with their punt return team, we were able to punch it in. So we played complementary football. did a great job all day. We had unbelievable kickoff returns by Owen McGraw. Owen, I think he returned one to the plus 49 and another one to the, I think, plus 40 or plus something like that. But he did a great job of returning the ball. So put ourselves in great field position, and we scored when we had those opportunities. So we played great
Yeah.
competitive football. All three phases did a real good job of winning that football game.
And so, if we can delve a little bit more deeper into the game. I know you spoke on you guys scored 3 in the first. They came out, scored 7. You guys were able to respond and
Mm-hmm.
score to make the score 10-7 going into halftime. If you can at that moment, if you could just talk about um, some of the things that we talked about in some of our wows were distractions, discernment, mentality, etc. Right? And when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about going down 7-3 in the second quarter, and the mentality and the focus, the execution that they were able to display in some of our wows, in that second quarter, take the lead back before halftime to then come out at halftime and score again.
Well, that's the positive about it, and we did some learning, which is what our word was last week, and they did a great job of learning from the week before that we have to capitalize and we have to compliment each other when those things come about, and they did a good job of that. So that was the great thing. It goes back to the week before that where we collaborated. We collaborated and got things done the way they're supposed to. Offense, defense, special teams. We talk about that triangle and how special teams is the bottom of that triangle. And special teams was huge for us, real huge for us. So we want to make sure we continue to do those things and continue to take care of the business we need to take care of. But the positive out of all of this is, like I said, these guys finished. They played hard because we knew St. Francis wasn't going to quit. Even after that fumble and everything, it kind of dejected them a little bit, but they came out the second half and they were still trying to punch it in. Even late in the game, they were still trying to punch it in. So that's the thing about a team like that. You just never know because they keep fighting and fighting. But the positive, like I said, our guys kept fighting. Our guys understood on Saturday what fast, being physical, and finishing the game meant, and they did a great job of doing that.
Yeah. We said it was FFPE, fast finish physical
No,
execute.
no, no, no. FPF, fast physical finish.
Yeah, see, the
Don't worry
acronyms,
about
boy.
it.
The
Don't worry
acronyms
about
will trip you up. So you kind of alluded to it that our wows, in the last couple of weeks was learning and collaborate. And you said you like what you were seeing from the team so far in practice this week as they get ready and take on Stonehill. What is our wow for this week?
why for this week is progression. It's
Mm.
progression, the process of moving forward and advancing to another state. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure we continue to gradually move forward and advance to another state. Because again, like I said last week, you can't eat an elephant by taking a big gulp. You got to take it one bite at a time. And so our guys are slowly understanding that this week of practice was good. I think we're gradually moving in the right direction we need to go to. We're making the progression we need to make on the field. But like I said, the most important thing mentally, we're making that progression. Even though we had 27, missed assignments, and I don't forget how many we had on defense, we still got better in that game because we were able to finish. And that's the positive thing about it. So mentally, our guys are starting to understand. Had some mental errors, but we got past them. The positive about that thing when it came to the touchdown that got called back, we didn't panic. The very next play, we punched it in the end zone. So that's the great thing about our guys. They're not panicking. So the progression is there. They're understanding what they need to do mentally and how we need to advance mentally. And so that's the positive about what's going on.
And progression definitely is account. It definitely adds to the learning to collaborate, and in that addition to learning, now how do we push forward? How do we expand it? How do we get better? How do we maximize to everyone's potential to progress beyond the standard of call? Um, when you talk about Stonehill this week in that progression,
Mm-hmm.
Stonehill being the opponent for this upcoming week, talk about some of Stonehill's strengths and ways that you're looking to minimize
The one thing I saw out of Stonehill is they're a team. They play great team effort. I mean, they play all together. Nobody jumped out at me except the quarterback. The way he ran the game and kept things going, he did a great job of making great decisions. They're not going to try to wow you with anything. It's basic downhill football, some counters, some powers. Going to try to run you over, get the ball to the receivers. They got some receivers that are very good. You got a number 3. I like him a lot. The man does a lot. He also a return man. And their defense plays solid. They give you some different looks on defense. Not a whole lot of blitzes, but just different looks. They give you a 3-man front, a 4-man front, 5-man front. So they do some different things, but they're a solid team overall. And they did a great job early. They ended up beating Maine. You know, it was a 4th and 21 against Maine, and receiver got behind everybody in the end zone. The quarterback saw him and put it right in his lap, and they end up winning the game against Maine. So they're a solid football team. They're 3-5, but they're a solid football team that plays well and plays hard. They beat LIU. I mean, they got some good wins under their belt, and they played tough. But probably the thing that jumps out, like I said, Pitts, man, they're a solid team that plays together, and they complement each other when it comes to playing on that football field.
And just pausing, not going back to last game, but just building from the progression in this week's from Zach's second game back from injury, and throwing 2 touchdowns. What have you seen in his progression that keeps you excited? Because obviously Zach's seen it all. When you talk about the defense, so more so it's just his physical ability that you're trying to get up to at least as close to 100%. But when you look at Zach and the fact that he was able to throw for 162 yards last week, with 2 touchdowns, talk about his progression and what you've seen from him in these last couple of weeks.
Well, last week, the thing that jumped out was his toughness. My man was getting hit a few times because he saw some hots coming and the hot routes didn't open up. He was holding the ball a little bit too long. He was bleeding from his lip. He was bleeding from his hand. He had blood all over his jersey. So we know he can take the punishment a little bit now. So he's not as banged up as he was. But not only that, he's getting a little more mobile. He's back to getting close to being as mobile as he was before, and he's making the right decision. So that's the good thing about it. So he's able to tough it out. He's been able to tough it out for us and push forward. So that's the thing that's jumped out about it more than anything else, because the more he's able to tough things out, the more free that arm's going to be to get those balls down the field. When those ribs were hurting, he couldn't get the ball down the field like he wanted to. But that's slowly coming back to him. Like you said, he hit a couple of touchdowns, one to Thomas Lee and one to Richard Ransom. He got it to Rich. So it's one of those situations where he's getting them out there, putting it on the money, being where it's supposed to be. So his accuracy's coming back, his mobility's coming back, and his toughness is coming back. So those are the 3 things that we need out of him in order to be successful.
A couple of the things that jumped out to me when I looked at the stat sheet from last week's game was the fact that the execution seemed to be there, right? Yeah. Because St. Francis had the ball more. They ran more plays. They had more time of possession. They had more first downs. They had more yardage. Only by 20. I mean, by 22, I believe they had 342. You had 320.
Yeah.
How did it feel for you to see? Even in the situation where statistically it looked like it was going St. Francis' way, but your team, were able to execute as proficiently as they was. Given that the past recent weeks, a couple of things that we talked about a lot was finishing and execution.
Well, the thing about it, the reason we were able to do that with less time and stuff like that, it's because of the special teams. Like I told you, we had 2 big, huge kickoff returns. I think one was, like I said, one thing was to the +40, and that was to like the -45. So, and we happened to score off those. So that's why I was a little screwed when it comes to time of possession and things like that. But they did do a great job of controlling the ball. They did a good job of controlling the ball. But the complimentary thing that jumped out on top of special teams was also, like you said earlier, Ethan had 50-some yards, 130-some, whatever Ethan had. He had an unbelievable day running the ball. And so that was the thing that was – we were averaging like 5 yards of pops pitch every time we touched the ball and ran the ball. So we're able to, on 2nd and 5, you're able to do some different things. You're able to make some things happen. So that was a positive. Our running game was up to par, did a great job at the running game. So the complimentary football was there, like I said before, and the progression was there because you saw guys gradually getting better as we did what we need to do. So that's what I take from the game more than anything. Even though we didn't have the time to possess, even though the stats weren't there, we took advantage of the opportunities that we had to score, and we hadn't done those things in the past few games. So that's definitely the thing we take away from that, taking advantage of the opportunities that we had and playing that complementary football that you and I always talk about.
I think, and I think more so, what I was really alluding to the listeners and viewers was that when we talk about, the efficiency or the execution or effective footballers, regardless of how many times you had the ball, you were able to execute it in a manner that still rendered you victorious, even though statistically, because a lot of times when people look at stats, they be like, oh, well, if the stats look lopsided. However, it's not always the telltale of the game, right?
Right.
That's one aspect of it. But I was just more so just alluding to going back to the execution that we talked so much about in the past couple of weeks, even in the execution of complementary football. And
Yeah.
something else that we talk a lot about when special teams is complementing, either offense or defense, or offense and defense is complementing special teams when you talk about situational football and putting the special teams not, pending their goal in the end zone to punt the ball out. And just all around the continuity and the complementary football as a whole that was generated for your team to not have the ball as much, but still be able to put up more points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Pitch. There's no doubt the execution was there, and that's the positive thing. The running game, the execution was there. When we did throw the ball, we put it where it needed to be at. When it was 3rd and 4, we got the 5 yards, on a pass, on a hook route that we weren't getting before. So those things were there for us. We're running routes with precision. We're doing those things that we needed to do. And even when we made mistakes, we were able to come back and still give the great effort and execute the play when we needed the play to be executed. So you're 100% correct. We were doing a great job of that. And again, that's a telltale sign not only for our offense but also Zach. It shows how comfortable he's getting in the pocket, and when things go wrong, he didn't freak out. Now there was a point where I was kind of like, we might as well start on 1st and 15, because every time I turned around, we'd get like a 5-yard penalty and starting out 2nd and 15, 1st and 15. But again, still executing and not getting down on ourselves, and not getting upset with ourselves, and doing what we needed to do to punch the ball in the end zone. And we kicked the field goal. We needed to kick a field goal. That was the positive. Jason got that back. He kicked a nice field goal for us, put in the lead to begin with. So again, the execution was there, even though the stats weren't there.
And it seemed like the referees were, seemed like a lot of laundry, because when I look, you guys had 9 penalties, but they also had 8. So when I look at the stat sheet, it seemed like the rest was just letting the flag drop. It was they were running and it was falling out.
You have no idea what you're gonna get week to week. So I'm one of those guys, man. You can't sit back and say the refs did this. You just never put it in their hands. And that's what it boils down to. You don't ever bring it down to a point where, prime example is Missouri and Vanderbilt. I mean, my man, knock it down. Knock the ball down. Don't let him catch it at the 1-inch line. And now it's on the referee, it's on the replay guy to say, was he in, was he not in, was the ball over, was the ball not over? Right. And now it goes down to the ref said he was outside of the end zone, so it's like the play stands. So when the play stands, it's not about them saying it's here or it's there. It's kind of like, well, we're going to let the refs make the calls, we're going to make the calls. So what it boils down to, you can't get caught up in the referees. I'm constantly telling the assistant coaches on our side, guys, don't talk to the refs. Just let them do their thing. You do your thing. You got too much to do to worry about the referees. I'll talk to them and see what's going on. But it's just one of those things, like you said, it was laundry's throwing. Some weeks it does and some weeks it doesn't. But you let those guys do their job. I tell people they're only human. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Referees are going to make mistakes just like you're going to make mistakes. You're just hoping, it's one of those situations where either they're going to throw a lot or not. I'm one of those coaches. I always tell the refs, hey, guys, look, as long as we calling it both ways, I'm cool with it. So that's why it didn't bother me. If you're calling pass interference on both sides, I'm cool with it. If you're calling unnecessary roughness on both sides, I'm cool with it. It's just when it's lopsided. It's just when a team has 10 and another team has 2. That's when it becomes an issue for me. But other than that, man, the referees don't bother me. Let them do their job. We do our job, and everybody's good.
Last week, and you kind of alluded to it, last week actually was 5.6 yards per carry.
Okay.
As it came to the rush in the running game last week. What are some of the takeaways in addition to the learning and the collaboration that took place on last week against St. Francis? Are you looking forward to carrying over this week against Stonehill as they progress forward?
Well, definitely the fact we had a good running game. We felt like Shine had a good game, and we also felt like, Wack went in and relieved him when we needed him to relieve him. So that's the one thing we always want to carry over is a good running game. But also the decisions by Zach. Zach made some good decisions, too, when the running game wasn't there. Instead of trying to go deep with it, taking that 5-yard hitch here, taking that check down to the running back and getting those 4 or 5 yards that we need. So the decision-making is something you always want to carry over because, again, like I said, this team is going to give us a lot of different looks. They're going to have some 3-man fronts, some 4-man fronts, some 5-man fronts, and they're going to be times they're only going to rush 2. it's a situation when sometimes they're rushing 3 and they're dropping 8. So we got to make sure we're making proper decisions and not making bad decisions.
Absolutely. And, this week against Stonehill, looking forward to, continuing that goal going, keep that train going, the progress going, trending upward as you host Stonehill this week, 12 o'clock noon.
They host us, and we're going there. So we leave it tomorrow.
Right.
This is a good little road here. So we're gonna leave tomorrow and head up there. We're gonna stop in halfway, hang on overnight, and then we're gonna finish it up on Friday, and we're gonna drive straight back on Saturday. But I'm hoping our guys have the right frame of mind. We talked about it before earlier. One of our word of the week is mentality. Want to make sure they have the right mentality. This is a business trip. We're going down there to handle business and coming on back. We can't worry about anything. Again, let's just try to eat this elephant one bite at a time and not worry about going. We're just trying to keep stacking. We got one. We're going to see if we can stack this one, and then we'll worry about the next one after this. But we got to make sure our mind is there. We want to make sure we're there with the progression that we need to make sure we're learning what we need to learn, and make sure we don't have any distractions on the way down. Make sure our guys are focused on this game and ready to play a college football game.
Absolutely. Coach, I appreciate it, man. Look forward to us talking towards the end of the week. And, I want to say, but I don't say, let's go Bobby Moe.
There you go, man.
This was the first, of the many to come as we're in conference play. And these are the games. Every game matters, but these games specifically matter.
Yes, and these games definitely matter. That's the other thing, man. So we got to make sure, let's go Bobby Moe. Like you said, let's make this thing happen.
And it's the way you say it. I don't say it like you do. You got the tone, the deep voice, all of that. I feel like my voice scratchy like Screech.
Not Screech.
Yeah, man. I feel like Screech
Not Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. A lot of people may not know who that is, but yeah.
Hey, we'll see how it goes, man. All week, Pierce, man, I've been listening to my guy, man, Michael Jackson. I've been listening to Mike. I don't know why I'm caught up in Michael Jackson. I've been listening to Michael Jackson all week, man. Michael Jackson is the dude. One of our crazy players, so you'll get a kick out of this. One of our crazy players said, Coach, man, I think NBA Youngboy is more popular than Mike. I said, boy, stop with that more popular than Michael Jackson. You done lost your entire mind. I said, Michael Jackson goes to Japan and he can't leave his hotel. Stop, man. Ain't nobody get that.
I get so sick and tired because my oldest son, he is a huge NBA Youngboy fan, and he think he is just. He like, I think he up there with Tupac. Get out my car. Don't disrespect me and Tupac like that. Don't disrespect me and Pac like that.
When they said, yeah, Coach, I think he, NBA Youngboy, he's probably a little more popular than Michael Jackson. I said, boy, I said, do you know, because we was on the field listening to Michael Jackson, we played music, and, somebody watching me came on. I said, he not even the lead singer. He the backup singer, and it still went #1. So please stop with the whole NBA Youngboy is more popular than Michael Jackson. You've lost your entire mind.
Man, I don't get that. And there's a lot of them who feel that the artist now, and this is all I say to them. If we didn't because back then you had 8-track, you had disc players, 8-track, you had cassettes played, and then you had CDs.
Strictly.
If Michael and them was strict on streams and downloads, man, stop. Man, stop. When Michael and them drop an album and you see the whole record store packed with people in lines waiting to get it, man, stop. That's all I say.
You had to go to the store to buy it.
And just
not in your house. You had to go to the store to buy it. So when he was selling 10 million, that means 10 million people were showing up at the store.
Man, if Michael and them was making music now, they'd be billionaires.
So, but no, man, I just had to bring that up because these cats didn't lost their mind. So I'm gonna go back and listen to Mike later on, and I'm gonna have Mike yell out, "Let's go, Bobby Moe!"
Wait, do the AI remake like you sent me, because man, I swear, when I still be listening to the Many Men one that you sent me, it is mind-boggling because it sounds good.
I told you.
It is mind-boggling how I could really hear this as a song the way they singing it.
It is. I'm so stuck on them, man. I don't even listen to the other rapping. Well, I just been listening to the AI version, the soul version. It's like you said, man. It's unbelievable how good. Because like, man, this really sounds like a blues song.
Yeah, it does.
This sounds like this. Many Men, and the one I really like, they do "Juicy" by
Biggie.
Biggie. Oh, bruh. It's off the chain.
Nah, hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Coach, this week, Stonehill, good luck. Congratulations on last week. Like you said, let's keep progressing. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep these wins stacking. And like I said, I'm excited because I'll actually get to be with you guys next week. You know,
absolutely,
as you host Wagner.
Yes.
Last week. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Congratulations again. Good luck this week. Y'all know what it is, man. It's your coach. This is Tiger, a.k.a. You know what I mean? This is Coach Bernard Clark Jr. Y'all know who that is? Y'all better check his dinner record.
Let's do it, man. Hey, appreciate you, Pitch, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Wednesday. Tapping with y'all the rest of the week.
Much love.